going to talk about something that is sometimes discussed in the book community, but usually has more questions than answers. And that is e-readers. And the biggest question is, why should I get an e-reader when I can just get a tablet or use my phone instead? I hope that's something that I'll be able to shed a little light on today. So yeah, just a little background. This is my Kindle Paperwhite. It is my first and only e-reader for the past 2 years. So most of my insights will be my experience in using the Kindle, but most of the information you'll be hearing from me today will mostly be also applicable to e-readers of different brands. If you do have a specific question about the Kindle though, just leave a comment and I'll try my best to answer. Do look forward though for a separate video where I'll be talking about my opinions on the different kinds of Kindles and also about the Kindle Unlimited subscription. So yeah, that will be for some other time and I will not cover that here because that would be one really long video. So anyway, now before we proceed, let's have a very short history lesson on how ebooks came to be. E-readers became commercially available around the late 90s. And around the mid-2000s, Sony was one of the first big names to release their own e-reader. It wasn't until year 2000 when Amazon released the very first Kindle, and it sold out really fast. Other brands then followed suit. Now, tablets were not released for consumer use until the year 2010 when Apple released the very first iPad. Android followed right after in 2011. So as you can see in the timeline, e-readers came before the tablets. And once consumers started picking up tablets, popularity of e-readers started to wane. And by 2012, e-reader sales started to decline. But this does not mean that the market died. E-readers are still very much available and there are new devices coming out every 2 or 3 years or so, but there definitely is less options for us now compared to before. Now, have you noticed anything about the history so far? Well, the information I just shared to you is Western data. Here in the Philippines, it wasn't until 2013 when National Bookstore for the first time displayed the Kobo for sale. But by then, tablets have already gained popularity for consumers that most Filipinos never really got to appreciate or even care about e-readers. So we go back now to the question, why should I get an e-reader when I could just get a tablet or use my phone instead? I think the root of that question springs from the fact that most of us Filipinos, when we buy something, the most important part is how much. How much are we going to have to spend for this thing? The Kindle Paperwhite is the most popular e-reader that I know of, so we'll use that as a reference, okay? What you're seeing now is the current prices as of November 2020 on a regular day. So the prices in pesos is a round off of the prices I could find from our local online stores, and those in dollars is the price if you buy it direct from Amazon. Now, if you look at those prices, you can buy a tablet or a phone with a big screen for about the same price, more or less. With tablets or phones, you get colored screens, tons of various apps, camera, you can call and text, and most importantly, these things, phones and tablets, are almost considered a necessity these days. You most likely already have a phone or tablet with you, or will acquire one eventually. So what's the point of e-readers then? They're basically just devices for reading books and nothing much else. Tablets and phones can definitely do more than what any e-reader can be able to do. So again, what's the point of e-readers? Less eye strain, glare? It's not the main reason. It's actually the battery life and the focus on reading. Because the e-readers can't do as much as phones or tablets, that means that there isn't much that's draining the batteries. So these devices usually last really long. On a single charge, my Kindle can last 4 to 5 weeks of regular use. And when I say regular use, about one ebook a week, sometimes more. But yeah, on average, 4 to 5 weeks. And I think general consensus would be around 3 to 4 weeks from a single charge. That's purely ebooks, okay? And I don't even turn the Wi-Fi off on my device. Now, the best part of e-readers is peace. Peaceful reading. Because e-readers don't really have much apps in them, you don't get the tons of pings and distractions from a phone or tablet that has all those apps that you really can't be bothered to mute anymore. I mean, yeah, there's that option to disconnect your device. There's that option to mute stuff. But most of us don't really have the discipline or the patience to set that up. So yeah, the best part about e-readers is you don't get distracted from all those pings and noise that the tablets or phones usually have. It's basically very much like a print copy where you just bring the device with you to a corner in your room. You just sit down and read it, and no pings, no noises, no flashes. You just read. Also, e-readers are mostly lighter than phones and tablets because it doesn't have all those extra stuff that's in phones and tablets. So they're usually lighter. Now, I know there are tablets or phones that are really light, but you're usually going to spend a ton more just for those devices. And if you can afford that, then you're not likely the person who's going to need time to think if you're going to buy an e-reader or not. Now, another plus for e-readers, they usually last really long. Mine is still only 2 years old, but it still looks really clean and it functions about the same as when I got it. And there are some people saying that they've been using their e-readers for 6 to 7 years already. The same device, just that one single device for the last 6 to 7 years. And I guess you can chalk that up to the fact that e-readers don't really do anything else, right? You just use it to read. You don't really you don't really need that much update or need new apps to read. It just is. So there's little chance, since it doesn't do that many other things, since it's not capable of doing other many things, there's really less chance of error. So there's that. So that said, the most common disappointment I've noticed from first-time e-reader owners is the screen refresh rate. We are so used to how fast devices respond to our touch. Cell phones and tablets just swipe, and swipe. It reacts really fast. When you see lag is not really that noticeable unless there's something wrong with the phone. So most of us, we associate lag with something wrong. But that is not how it is with e-readers. Now, look at this delay every time I flip the page and when I'm typing. That is normal for e-readers. Cheaper options will usually have a bit longer delays, and first-time users could find this uncomfortable or will not like this at all. The only time this bothers me though is when I'm putting notes, because it can really take more time than it should, and especially if the notes I'm typing isn't actually very intelligent. So in conclusion, it's very valid to say that a tablet or phone is more than enough for you. You don't need an e-reader, and that's alright. That makes a lot of sense because most of us don't really need an e-reader. Most of us are satisfied with the tablet or the phone. Some of us don't really even read that many ebooks, to justify having a dedicated e-reader. For those who really want a dedicated e-reader or is already planning to buy one, for me, e-readers are worth it. As long as you actually use it. Now remember, these things are not cheap. Even if you see those cheaper ones, overall, from what they're able to do, they're not cheap. And if you get tired of it and find out that you don't really want it anymore, just remember that reselling them fast isn't going to be easy unless you're willing to let go of it for much less than what you got it for. So there's that. As for me, I'm more than happy with my Kindle Paperwhite. For the 2 years I've had it, I'm more than satisfied. My Kindle though is a generation behind it or something like that. It doesn't have Bluetooth. It's not waterproof. It doesn't have Audible support, and it's only 4 gigabytes. Right now, 4 gigabytes is more than enough because I only use it for ebooks. If Amazon would release a new Paperwhite though with USB Type-C, I would definitely upgrade. Maybe even considering the Oasis. That's how much I actually really like e-readers. Alright, so I hope some of this information helped you out or confused you even more. Either way, I'm glad that it did. For future uploads, I'll be making separate videos on the different kinds of Kindles and what I think about them, and also my thoughts on the 2 popular subscriptions for bookworms that I know of. So that's the Kindle Unlimited and Scrib. So until next time.